I know I do. Good evening, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. My name is Sarah Jane, and we're gonna be doing a Down the Rabbit Hole episode. So, yeah, jump in the trenches with me. Oh, but before I do that, I just want to say a special thanks to all of the countries that are listening. I appreciate you so much. I just found out I have reached Bhutan. I don't even know where that's at, but wherever you guys are listening, God bless you. I speak life over you. That's just beautiful. I love that. Anyway, yes, jump in the trenches with me. We're gonna be talking about the medicine that no one talks about, and it's called remdesivir. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to drop a comment down in the links in the description below. We have Instagram, and YouTube, and other things. Also, buy my merch, because that helps me out a lot, because Spotify for podcasters is being a dick, and they don't pay me no more, so... So, for the longest time, I was in this kind of tug of war with myself when it came to this conspiracy. To me, it's not a conspiracy, but I say that it's a conspiracy because I have to leave it up to you guys to believe what I say. It's okay if you don't. It doesn't really matter, because what I believe and what you believe doesn't necessarily matter. It does matter where the truth really is, because I can have an opinion and somebody else can have an opinion and we could both be wrong. But that's all real conspiracy theories is about. You know, a conspiracy theory is only a theory until it's proven as a fact. But my sources come from a Rumble video called Watch the Water. It's a documentary about this whole medicine, this whole remdesivir, and I took notes on it, I want to say towards the end of last year, and I've been holding on to it because I just really didn't know what I was gonna do with it. One of the main reasons is because I didn't want anybody coming after me, but the thing is that now that this is common knowledge, even the sources that I go to, even like the reliable people that I turn to in order for advice before I get these out, have told me it's okay. Go ahead and talk about it. So I'm just like, you know what? Alright, I got the green light. Let's go and do this. So, I have decided to research the drug remdesivir. I had once tried to watch the documentary Watch the Water back in 2022, so this was the first time I did try to watch this documentary was towards the middle of 2022. And I had maybe gone through halfway through when my phone shut down and wouldn't come back on for about 10 minutes. I highly recommend the documentary because of how informative it is. Dr. Brian Ardis and Steve Peters sit down and start talking about the virus, and that shall not be named, so I'll do my best not to say the name, because I know that I'm probably going to take this video, once I put it on YouTube, it'll probably be struck down, but it will be available on Rumble, it will be available on Spotify for podcasters and Spotify, so just to give you a heads up, I already know this is going to be taken down real quick, but anyway. But since I will not be, don't you just love the fact when you take notes and you say, oh, I'm not going to post it to YouTube? but then I say that I'm going to do it, you know, like the past you is like, oh, this is gonna be a thing. Don't post it to, I'm gonna post it to YouTube anyways. Anyway. We already know what the virus is we're talking about. There was a whole thing, you know, back in what? Has it been 2 years already? It's still a thing. We all wear masks because of it. There you go. I have never heard of remdesivir until I watched this documentary, and I was disturbed by what I learned. So let's jump into the trenches and get dirty, shall we? See, I even wrote down my own intro, and I already did the intro. I'm ahead of myself in the past. Like, that's crazy. Anyway. Now I don't want to start the episode without giving thanks and credit to Dr. Artis and Steve Peters and for their hard work and research from the documentary Watch the Water. Most of the information that I will be talking about is from that documentary, so I highly recommend going ahead and watch this if my video is not informative enough for you, because, you know, they did their research. I did mine, but I basically I'm just kind of spreading the information that I found. So, what is remdesivir? Remdesivir is a drug used to treat we're gonna call it the cobra disease, and you'll find out why I'm saying that later. And it's in all the needles that the doctors administer. Fauci claims that the drug remdesivir has been proven to treat the virus, but he does fail. He fails a lot of things. He's not very good at what he does. To include the fact that the drug itself shuts down certain organs in the body, like the kidneys and the brainstem. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the brainstem is the most important part of your brain. It keeps you breathing. The drug has failed to treat Ebola back in the day, so why would he think that the drug would help COVID patients recover? It doesn't. Big surprise. But I am deeply convinced that the whole world is run by people no smarter than you and me, and we are all supposed to believe that people like Bill Gates and Fauci, who both believe in population control, are the most educated people who we put our faith in. 1,205,753 adverse effects have been reported back in 2022 from the needles. It starts with a V, we all know what I'm talking about. And that sure sounds like it's helping people, doesn't it? I have seen multiple videos of people who have fallen victim to the adverse effects of the needle or shot from Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. Some have heart problems after they took the jab, and some have gotten Bell's palsy. Some even couldn't control their muscle contractions in their body because of what was inside the vaccine. Yeah, you know what? I can't even censor myself, so why should YouTube? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. There have even been reports of women losing fertility from taking the jab itself. Dr. Artis advises the public to not drink the water, which we will get into later, but keep it in mind. Fauci was lying about the drug and perpetuated it as a miracle drug, kind of how the old peddlers from the 1900s would sell snake oil, claiming that it would cure ailments, right? What's the difference? Remdesivir is merely the catalyst to cause a mass upset all over the world, and more people died from the jab that contains the drug, and he had an excuse for the people to go out and take the vaccine. So the more people died from the vaccine, the more they perpetuated it, saying, you need to get it. Because most of the time, when the doctors were told to give remdesivir to COVID patients, The COVID patients started dying from the jab. So that gave Fauci the excuse to go ahead and say you need to take the jab. Because everyone was thinking everyone's dying from the pandemic. What they were really dying from was from the shot. The government has thrived off fear, from the fear of people. And that's actually a fundamental property of voodoo. I remember a documentary of a woman actually helping out in a Haitian hospital and was told that the doctors wouldn't treat certain patients because they were less than human in the eyes of the voodoo practice. The doctors were scared stiff of these people. So basically, these people were disabled, mentally disabled, physically disabled, deformed from birth, stuff like that. So remdesivir deaths were quickly labeled COVID deaths in order for the public to stay scared and run to the only salvation they saw to treat this evil. And so many people bought into this. Artists predicted that 30% of people would be experiencing organ failure, septic shock, and kidney injury from the administering of the drug. Turns out his predictions were right. Remdesivir is toxic to the body and targets certain organs in the body, such as the kidneys and the brainstem. It's funny how the FDA approved remdesivir in January 21st, 2022 for remdesivir to be the only drug used in newborns. Why are you trying to kill children? Babies. I don't understand that one. Once again, we round back to population control. Why do they want to administer a drug so deadly to babies? Well, I learned a year ago that not only abortion, but infanticide is a satanic act. So, those children that died from the administering of remdesivir, it's a satanic practice. Abortion is a satanic practice. I know some people might disagree with me. That's fine. You can believe in whatever you want to believe, but this is what I have found out. Infanticide and abortion goes far back as biblical times. When Jezebel brought the faith of the god Baal, or Baal, or whatever you want to call him, into Israel, one of the practices in order to appease this god was to set your child, your newborn baby, these mothers would, line up and put their babies in the hands of the statue. The statue would be heated up, and the child would be cooked in the hands of this evil god, of the statue, of the idol. And there would be drums playing, that way the mother couldn't hear their child crying as the child died. You can't tell me that that's not a form of abortion or infanticide. Jezebel, the spirit of Jezebel just got more clever. And it keeps going in many different ways and different forms. But it's the same thing. I believe that everything, including so-called conspiracies, relate to each other. Population control is a satanic act. And it is basically a fancy word for murder, genocide, whatever you want to call it. Remdesivir, I believe, is a tactic to attack children after they are born in order to control the population. Why do you think that Democrats, elite and common people, got so upset at the fact that abortion was now handed over to the authority of the states? Because there would be more child's lives saved. So, trust me, I have seen some women get so upset at the fact that they can't abort their own child in their own state. And I've seen them scream at the top of their lungs And there's one experience when Roe v. Wade got overturned. There was one woman that I saw on Instagram, just a video of her, and she just starts screaming, letting out her frustrations. But the thing is that I know when a demon gets angry. When you find something heart-wrenchingly or spirit-wrenchingly scary, your spirit reacts to it. I felt it in my spirit. I'm like, nope. That demon was pissed. Whatever demon that woman had was pissed. William Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse book states that population control has been around for ages, and the only reason why we are now hearing about it is because it is now starting to be perfected. William Cooper goes on to state that the condoms, hysterectomies, homosexuality agenda, and abortions, etc., have been pushed into public attention because of how useful it was to keep people from procreating. How many times on social media, on Disney Plus, everywhere you see LGBTQ stuff? It's because the government, the elites, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they want to push this agenda not just because of population control, but you do realize that pedophilia is also a satanic act, right? I mean, like I said, all conspiracies relate to each other in some way, shape, or form. Now we are seeing trans kids being given the right to mutilate their own bodies because they believe that they are a different gender than they are, or than they were assigned at birth. These tactics are also called silent weapons, that's what they're called, and have been put to use for so long, and much longer than we realize. They push the narrative that you have the freedom to assign your own gender, kill your own child, but all the while, it's more of a control tactic to make us non-reproductive. What is that old Illuminati saying again? Order within chaos? Hiding things in plain sight? You can call me a conspiracy theorist if you like, but I advise you to do your own research. I'm not here to compel anyone to believe what I say. I am here merely speaking for the people who choose to hear. But back to remdesivir. The drug has now been used only for the entire pandemic. So now, not only is it attacking children, but also the sick and the weak. Newborns to 18 months were administered the drug. The CDC and the FDA now recommend remdesivir as a source for COVID treatment. They have paused the distribution of monoclonal antibody treatments. Why would they do that? Only IV infusion is to contain remdesivir now to treat patients. The NIH, FDA, and CDC all tell you the same. I'll tell you something to do the opposite of what is actually necessary for your body. There have been so many ads on wearing masks that even Fauci's, it says dumbass, but I really don't want to say that anymore. Fauci's dumbass actually told us to wear 2 at one point. But anyway, like I said, elites are no smarter than you and I. And to be honest, that's just a little piece of proof for you. Contact tracing, haven't we heard that before in ads? They say to wear a mask to participate in contact tracing. What does that actually mean? A person who tests positive for COVID-19, after testing positive, the person is interviewed remotely to identify who have they been in contact with. Give me a second. Their contacts are then assessed according to their level of risk, also known as contact triage. Now, this may be a far stretch, but I believe this whole pandemic was a test run. They interview you alone in a room where you unknowingly sell out your family or friends that you may have gotten the virus from or have given the virus to. Forgive me, but I've been a Christian all my life, and I've seen so many rapture movies in my time that the common theme is that when a family member takes the mark of the beast and another doesn't, the sellout family member goes ahead and sings like a canary to bring the non-compliant person to the government. Many scenes in these movies depict the scene where the family member without the mark gets taken away by authorities and gets put to death because they do not take the mark. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a test run for the beast. The FDA has repeatedly told the public that ivermectin, NAC, monoclonal antibodies, and hydroxychloroquine do not help with COVID. They actually say to stay away from those drugs because they know they help. Monoclonal antibodies are an anti-venom, so why does the CDC want to be against using it unless it's a snake venom? Thousands of people started talking about the lab accident in Wuhan, China, but they also chalked up the evidence to being part of a bat. A researcher in China spoke up and said that bats hibernate, and it was in the middle of winter around this time when the accident happened. They stated the genetic sequences of antibodies in sick people and found that the genetic sequences are nothing like a bat's, but they were close to the Chinese kite, or crete, however you say that, and the king cobra. They were the surrounding culprits of the genetic makeup of COVID-19. The receptors of the brain called the nicotinic receptors are bound most tightly to snake venom protein that is located throughout the brain, including the brainstem. How many people have had trouble breathing when they had COVID? Raise your hand. Bing Lu, I hope I am saying his name right, God rest his soul, and my condolences to the family who had lost him. He was deeply researching COVID when he was shot and killed. His boss at the university he worked at told the public that he would release his work but never did. There were 19 venom proteins. There were 19 venom proteins that they isolated that targets the organs of the body, and that's why people with pre-existing conditions were so at risk, including healthy people, asthmatics, COPD patients. All of those people who had breathing problems, you already had breathing problems in the first place, and once you ended up contracting the virus, however that happened, or even had gotten the jab, this is why you had problems breathing, because remdesivir attacks the brainstem that controls breathing. Gilead manufactures and owns remdesivir now. The drug has a yellow-white color to it, which snake venom is known to have the same coloration. Every practitioner that administers remdesivir have to do a that's another medical term, give me a minute, prothrobin time evaluation. They have to monitor the increase of prothrobin time before and during, so that the vaccine is working properly. This drug thins out the blood so that it doesn't clot, and the patient internally bleeds to death. Snake venom works the same way. What a surprise. The masses have been venom poisoned to control the population. The venom was dumped into water waste in order for us to get infected. The venom is in the water. Remdesivir targets weak points of the body. It is intended to be that way. It targets the pancreas for the diabetic, the heart in the heart disease patient, liver for the hepatitis patient. And what happens when a predator wants to eat? They don't go for the strongest animal, do they? They go for the weakest, don't they? They prey on the weak and sick because it's an easy catch. We are the prey to them, and they're the predators. Interesting. It's amazing that the emblem for Big Pharma has 2 snakes wrapping around a spire. How long have they been including venom in our medication? I actually researched this myself, so all of this stuff, most of this stuff is actually stuff that I found by myself. The symbol of 2 snakes on a staff is called the caduceus. The staff depicted with wings is that of Mercury, or in the Roman mythology, or Hermes in Greek, messenger of the gods and the god of commerce. The Greek root of caduceus means herald's wand. The history and the meaning of the symbol is complicated. In the West, it has been adopted as a symbol of medicine since the 19th century, probably because of its similarity to the serpent of Epidaurus on the staff of Aesculapius. Sometimes I can't pronounce. But anyway, it's generally considered less suitable for pharmacy than the one snake motif, but it's more popular for use as a general medical symbol. The caduceus crown here is from 1888 Chambers Encyclopedia. So, Epidaurus sounds a lot like epidemic, which means a widespread of disease. Aesculapius, I hope I'm saying that right, comes from the Latin word treatise, which it means a written work, formally and systematically, with a subject or a treaty. So Big Pharma has an agreement with someone in order to bring about epidemics. Remember that Hermes also is in charge of commerce. It is a treaty or agreement between people in order to do something, right? A treatise is much more detailed than a regular treaty, according to what I found. So the elite end up agreeing on administering poison in order to go ahead and create an epidemic. Well, then, can't say they didn't tell us. It was in plain sight. That just proves my theory that elites profit from the suffering of people. mRNA from cobras create venom and wrapped it around a... Oh, wow. Okay, think about it. They used snake venom and wrapped it around a nanoparticle hydrogel to stabilize the vaccine. What is the emblem of Big Pharma? A staff with a snake wrapped around it. They also included dynabeads surrounding the mRNA. They are magnetic little beads. They put metal in you. There have been reports of so many patients conducting electricity and having magnetic skin after taking the jab. Loss of taste and smell after ingesting venom through the mouth lasts for months and even years. Funny, right? It also paralyzes the brainstem and cripples breathing. How about some more breaking down of words, huh? Virus in Latin means venom. Corona means a gold ribbon at the base of a mire, which is a pope's hat. This could easily be translated into the Pope's pandemic. Corona also means crown, which kings usually wear. Venom, we know, comes from snakes, alright? The king cobra pandemic, maybe? Pandemic comes from the Latin word pandemos, meaning all the people. So let's not forget pharmakia, a healing or harmful medicine, a healing or poisonous herb, a drug, poisonous potion, magic, dye, raw material for physical or chemical processing. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest the case. It all boils down to the witchcraft being peddled within the world to pave the way for the beast and making man in their own image. They are trying to push the bloodline of Cain. The vaccine, I believe, rewrite the DNA to make hybrids that are more compliant to the New World Order. The Department of Defense, the UN, they both own Orpharix, which is a company that will solely work on anti-venom engineering. The Wellcome Trust Fund has also been thrown in there, too. Now, I know the pandemic is over, but let me keep you on your toes. There is a prophecy out there that says that there will be a pandemic, and it will stop, but it will come back in 10 years' time. Take the info how you like. Now, like I said, most of the episodes that I have for Down the Rabbit Hole is mostly conspiracy theory. A lot of these things are theory. A lot of these things don't actually, or may not exist, but this one I feel like is the closest to fact and reality at the moment because of how much research Dr. Artis and Peters ended up doing, which I wholeheartedly appreciate. I really thank those two men who made that documentary. They were really brave to do that. So I am just giving them credit. Go ahead and watch the documentary, watch The Water, and see for yourself, because it is the most compelling documentary I have seen in a very long time. But thank you so much for listening to Down the Rabbit Hole, and I will see you in the trenches next time.